I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda?
I don't have anything.
I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the proposed agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Peg, we just will go ahead and take care of our first appointments, 10:15.
Okay. This is just the appointment, I guess, of my replacement, is that?
Yeah.
The board has to approve that.
Approve it,
Oh, yeah.
okay. And so what do you, I need, it's Lori Kluver, Laurie, Kluver, and her start date will be Thursday, June 18th.
The commission and board interviewed, how many folks?
8.
8. And had a really good pool. It really was good.
Laurie.
Laurie.
IE, okay.
I would entertain a motion to, go ahead.
What's the actual title of your position?
It's Sac County Veteran Service Officer and General Assistance Director. It's 2 programs that we have, so.
General.
Assistance Director, yeah.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to approve that appointment.
I'll make a motion to approve Lori Kluver to this position.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
What's the start date?
Motion carries.
Thursday, June 18th. And my last day is July 10th.
And you have a starting salary for that position?
It was 32,000, wasn't it?
Right.
June, give me those dates again.
June 18th is her start date.
Start. Okay, and your
My last day is July 10th.
July 10th.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Peg.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks. Tell the board.
Thank the commission again.
I
yeah.
will.
We enjoyed working with the commission on it.
Here's a proposal on some bank seating for,
Oh, and I got a phone call about this over the weekend. When we did the clean out on DD 86, which is right by Dennis Degner's there, that half mile along the gravel road,
Yeah.
the seating didn't take, and he had asked
Yeah.
about
Remedying that.
fixing it, and we looked at doing it last fall and then decided that it wouldn't take again, so they were gonna wait till spring. And I said that he would need to generate a proposal for the board to look at and to approve. Sometimes if you get it, a good take on it, it'll take and do a good job, and then the next time it doesn't. And if you don't get cover on those, it slips to,
Especially in a bank.
yeah, and it slips to the bottom, and then you're right back to where you were.
I'll make a motion to approve this bank seating project in Drainage District number 86.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the proposed seating on drainage in Cedar Township, section 13, drainage district number 86. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Who ends up doing that?
MLS Landscape and Design. It was actually, I believe they're somebody who's working with DOT on 196, so they were in the area, and he had,
Got a deal.
yeah,
Maybe.
I hope, but it's that was kind of why he thought, well, boy, we've got somebody working right here close, we might come contact us, so. Do you want to hand out our budget papers, or do you want to wait till the hearing?
Oh, I don't care. I thought you guys had your copies. I didn't make,
Didn't make any extras? I'll have to dig.
I can make some.
You want to do that again? You've been with us for 14 years, haven't you? What do you know, Dale?
Nice weekend, a little wet.
Just don't quit.
I'm glad we didn't get what they got done by Carroll.
They get a couple inches.
Maple River got 2.5, 3.5.
Oh, really? That's not good.
Well, Mark's, Carroll got 1.5 inches.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, when that storm was coming in, it looked
It would
Pretty dark
look yellow.
cloud.
Well, it looked yellow.
yeah,
Have you seen the footage of Houston?
the flooding.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Texas is wet.
They were in a drought for the longest
Yeah.
time, and then went one
And the
inch.
flood doesn't really help you.
But I mean, it's 180 degrees. So they had gone from a nasty drought to too much.
My brother said down by Manning, he was putting in the last of his beans on Saturday night and was going as late as he could because he knew it was going to rain on Sunday.
I
Still
called.
didn't get it done.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just emailed down to Renee a copy of the answer.
Okay. Thank you. You got court today?
I got court here this morning, gotta be in Atlantic in the afternoon,
Oh, is that right?
so, progress.
Busy day then.
Yes.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. How about you?
Pretty well. Just wanted, we're doing a kickoff reception for the hometown pride and
Oh.
introducing the new coach.
7 p.m.
Just wanted to make sure you guys were invited,
Thank you.
and you as well.
Had introduced her the other night, and
We had our county board meeting, but gonna try and get, I mean, just for the county steering committee, we're trying to get everybody together and say, here we are. Let's do it. So,
off and
Starts
running.
1st of June.
great.
She's gonna hit the ground running. Hometown Pride, they have some people that help train the new person or give them, some expectations, which is good.
Yeah, so just wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was happening, and love to have you and spouse or guest or whatever.
Okay. What day of the week was it?
It's a Thursday night.
Thursday
It's a
night.
Thursday night.
And,
We're inviting, all the city councils in the county and the endowment board, the SCTV board, the press, supervisors.
and in the local committees as well, so we
Yeah.
can hopefully have a nice group of people there. I want you to feel like that.
I think I got one, yeah. Thanks.
But, just good way to say, here, we're starting. Here's some ground rules.
We're gonna have some, munchies provided by, board members and whatever, and maybe some,
Maybe
and
some
there'll be a
donations.
cash bar and sodas available. I think it's at 7, we thought, give working people time to get home from work and So
Yep.
it's not gonna be a sit-down dinner.
What are we thinking, half hour, 45 minutes?
Hour, I mean, a little bit of social time thrown in there and some talk, you know, and just maybe get, one of the goals of Hometown Pride is to try and build connections among the communities. And I think it would be great to say, all right, you can't sit at a table with anybody from your own town. And, you know, please introduce yourself to someone you don't know, and, you know, those things that put some of us way outside of our comfort zone, but that's all right. But, no, I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was happening.
Sounds good. I'll try and be there.
Good, appreciate it. And, but anything else new and exciting?
Same old stuff, a different day, I think.
Yes.
Seems to be.
Nitrates are the word of the decade.
Yeah, I think will be, yes. I'd say for the next 5 years, for sure.
Bill Stowe was at the Tulip Festival last week in Orange City.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So he's running around there now?
Well, yeah, that Feenstra, the legislator from
Orange City.
Orange City, that,
Called him on the carpet.
yeah, so they exchanged. And he made some, there's an article in the Des Moines Register.
What was his goal to, as far as going up there? I mean, what was he?
I think he was invited to go up there and sit down with people involved in agriculture, I guess.
That's a,
Well, Feenstra's the one that said we should boycott.
Right.
corn.
right.
So, you know, I guess it kind of cleared the air. I mean, one of the things he said in the register, he said, you know, he's not trying to do away with the drainage, but he realizes drainage districts and structures are needed for agriculture, and Iowa can't survive without ag.
That's contradictory to his actions, though.
Well, I guess he thinks, maybe he's saying they need to perform differently, or, you know.
They're necessary
Well, yeah,
as
you
long
can-
as they
you
conform to
know-
all of his requirements.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but there's a net effect. If you were able to spend the money to do these filters and things, it's going to dramatically slow down water. And you know, if you get a 2 or 3 inch rain, it doesn't move out quickly enough as it is, and so there is going to be a net effect. Even if you were to be able to gather the money to do these bioreactors and those kinds of things, you're going to slow water down considerably, and that has a negative effect on the outcome of what the drainage is for. And thank you, Jim.
Yep. No problem.
You're on your best behavior today.
Before we get into that, I'll wait till Dean gets back.
Just so you don't feel left out, we're doing a
Oh.
kickoff reception for Hometown Pride. Love to have you and a guest come if you can.
Cool. I just had a little conversation with the emergency management director. He had received an order from the USDA to supply protective gear and disinfectant for all of our sheriff's vehicles because they are required not to patrol these quarantine areas. So I have a bill here from, actually there's 2 of them here. $102 for the actual disinfectant, and then $334.61 for the boots and gloves, and a tub. So, I'll work on a place to take that from. And
He had phoned me and said that they had the order to provide those, and
Yeah.
and we had to provide
Well,
them.
he told me this morning that it is, we need to pay those and then the USDA will reimburse us for them, so.
He thought that would happen, but he didn't know for sure.
You know, Jim, maybe we can call somebody at our accounting firm and ask them, you know, instead of them coming in, ask them what fund we might
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah, I think, you know, just off the cuff, that special projects fund would be, it would qualify for that. Because it's gonna be reimbursed, it's not as crucial that we have it in the right place, but, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly understood that it was, we had to do it, and he indicated they thought that it would be reimbursed, but didn't know for sure. And it, I'm glad it's being reimbursed, but even if it wasn't, we had to provide it, so.
All right. Just keep my beautiful.
On this one, this 30 grand for the roof, is that for the one we did or the one that we're going to do?
Yeah, for this one here.
So what's going on with the city, Bruce?
Not much. Kind of, hopefully getting the CDBG grant for the facade
Getting that?
approved tonight.
Oh, is that right? Did you have enough qualified to do what you needed to do?
Yes.
Good deal.
I'm not sure the exact total, but I think that, I think we only probably lost one of the applicants in the process, so that was, and that when, the Masonic building came in, it wasn't a huge project to start with, but I think the projection was around 4,000 and it came in at 13,000 or something, and that, for that, and they need to put a new boiler in the building, and I think they were feeling that, well,
One or the other, eh?
one or the other. Working on that, kind of waiting to hear back from Zach and stuff so we can, you know, begin to work on the Fifth Street project with you guys. And, other than that, you know, life is relatively calm at this point, you know.
Good.
Saying that, I'm sure something will explode in our faces soon, but, you know.
Always happens.
Right.
How was Gala Days?
Had a pretty good crowd, good parade. It was pretty well attended, I think, and especially for people still in the field and in some wet weather. But I think they got to be pleased with their turnout. Quite a few young people with kids.
How is Gala Days organized? Is that just a committee that does that?
Yeah, it's a committee that's done that. Had Smith Amusements for their ride stuff. It seemed like our grandkids were there and seemed to have fun, and it was very clean and well run, I think. So yeah, I think it's pretty successful.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I bumped into Gary Colvin over there, and I hadn't seen him since he retired. I wasn't able to attend his retirement thing, and he indicated that he was keeping busy and that might possibly do some consulting for some operations someday. Thanked him for his service there, and they'd really been a good asset to Lytton, and he had been a big part of that. They've really been a good neighbor, and I think it really helped the town out quite a bit. And it's a significant employer. I think they employ 90-ish.
They actually aren't in that county, or are they?
They're in.
Yeah.
They're in.
The county line is,
N28.
Sparky's is on the wrong side of it.
Okay, all right. I was trying to think. what
And
is
the
that
old
line?
school, yeah, it's just the N28 there.
Okay.
So the city park, what used to be the Friendship Church and the school.
School are all on
Calvin County, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I knew it was on one side of one of those roads, and I was trying to remember which one it was.
They've done a significant investment again inside the facility. I think they've updated again.
How is, I mean, I hate to even ask this, but like Lytton's lagoon system, how long is that going to?
I don't know. I think it improved their position when 10 years ago or so, the Proliant built their own system out there. I think they probably would have had real issues, but then that kind of took the pressure off, I think.
Because I know that lagoon systems and the DNR are not good friends.
So so far, I think they're doing an investment in water treatment there for their usable water for mainly because of Proliant. They had a higher need for water.
I mean, that could literally bankrupt a lot of small cities across Iowa.
All of them, yeah. That's, yeah, I mean, it's a huge hurdle and they're, just don't have the resources to pay for it. Can't charge enough.
Or if you charged enough, everybody would just complain to the point that they would move.
Well, or some can't pay it, and so, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. They've also taken ownership of the bank building there, the city has. And the bank still uses the front part, and then they're using the back half or so for city office. They're doing some remodeling in the
Where
back.
were the city offices?
In the edge of the fire station, just in a real
Oh,
little
yeah.
cubbyhole room.
Yeah,
By the museum.
yeah.
So was that gifted to the city or did the city buy it?
I think it was gifted to them. And then if I'm know enough details to be dangerous, I think the bank is going to pay a nominal fee to be there, and the city will own the building.
So did they gift it through a foundation then?
I don't know any of the details.
I mean, because I would think that the bank would want to somehow be able to get some tax advantages to that.
I really don't know what the details were, other than that the city did receive the building, and that there was an arrangement for them to get space back. So they're real happy with the space, because it at least doubled, plus then had an office for the mayor. And
When did they move in there?
in this last month,
Oh, really?
yeah, and they're renovating while they're in there.
Oh,
So,
They wanted to move badly.
yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Living in renovations is never easy.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think they were just so grateful for the extra space and
Yeah.
wanted to be able to get in there as soon as they could. It's about 10:30, so I'll open the public hearing. Jim, do you want to give us a rundown of?
yeah, this is, what you have before you is the notice that was put in the paper, papers, I should say. The first 17 lines is the adjustments in the revenue of $134,614. And lines 18 through 31 would be the adjustments in total expenditures in the total of $295,255 for the reduction in fund balance of $160,641. The two sheets behind that are kind of a breakdown of the adjustments and expenditures on the first page and adjustments and revenues on the second page. The public safety and legal services, there were some adjustments in the sheriff's department. Most of that, a lot of that I should say, was adjustmts in our group health insurance and some salary adjustments for full-time personnel and some overtime.
And outside inmate housing was significant.
Yes, yes. There were a few adjustments in the county attorney's office for the updates on their computers. County environment, down below there was $10,000 adjustment on the county fair, and that was a grant that the fair board had applied through and used the county as a pass-through through that Gilbert Ramsey Foundation. I'm not sure what these numbers mean, but township officials, there was we had to amend the treasurer's budget for an audit from the state auditor's office for $7,200. Administration, we adjusted the budget for the replacement of that roof over there on the courthouse, or the courtroom and the lobby area. We also did some minor repairs to the building, took part of the old chimney off, and some unemployment money that we had to pay into unemployment, which we don't, governmental entities don't pay a monthly unemployment contribution. We're billed as we get dinged for it. So that's what that's all about. There's a $15,000 grant application in there for the public health nurse generator at the South Annex. And let's see, on the second page then there's some Medicare grants, some contract law grants, not grants but fees. Those are mostly, well, the Medicare thing is for public health, and the contract laws is a fee that the sheriff collects. Work release and room and board, that's a jail revenue. Contributions for camping fees down there, the conservation. And just kind of third down below there, you'll see the reimbursement then for that Ramsey pass-through grant for the fair. And that's about it.
The other, one of the expenditures in administration is for our drain, legal, and court services. We've included 50 grand, hoping that we don't have to use it, but having something available at least to upfront some of these costs. Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions about?
So basically,
What we're
the
presenting.
amendment is just making sure that you don't exceed the expenditures.
Right.
Not that you expect to necessarily spend that much, but you don't want to get dinged because you're going over.
Pretty much, that's the short of it. And then things change during the year. I mean, I'm sure you're worried out with
Yeah.
city
So it's
government.
basically a worst-case scenario for expenditures, and
Some of these expenditures have been incurred already. The 50 grand for the drainage, we haven't spent any of that. And whatever is not spent by June 30th will go back into the general fund, so it's not like it's gone forever.
A couple of these,
We don't have to raise taxes. We just take money out.
Fund
You look at
balance.
our fund balances, the net change, 160,641 is reflected in this fund balances. In combination. Those fund balances, a lot of that is in secondary roads, timing of projects.
great.
Sometimes, big road overlays, they review those now about every 3 years. That's something that builds up.
And actually, coming in the next year with the gas tax revenue, that'll make a difference as well probably in the size of our budget, because there will be revenue provided that we'll be using on roads and bridges that we haven't had available before.
What will be your increase from the rate?
Direct, about 550,000 directly, and then indirectly in a couple of the other accounts, an additional 150. That will be an annual.
What's that, the city answer for the city?
Just under 40,000.
Wonderful.
So it's for the road and bridge piece, for us, it's really going to be
Right.
a good shot in the arm for them.
And, yeah, I'm not criticizing 40,000, it doesn't do much of a road project.
And we're seeing it's not uncommon to take most of 250 for a bridge project, and that's just kind of a smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
It goes up from there. But with that being said, that's
It's
going to
money
make
you
a huge
didn't have,
difference.
it's money you didn't have before, which is great. I'm not looking at gift horse in the mouth, I'm just saying that it,
Yeah. And that's like for us, we're certainly going to be able to move forward some of the things in our program that we weren't going to be able to do, that will be spent on infrastructure.
so you updating a CIP plan to reflect that then, or?
We do that annually. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions from anyone?
Need a motion to come out of the public
I
hearing?
do.
Also move.
I'll second the motion. Motion's been moved and seconded to come out of our hearing. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we amend our our budget. We'll increase our revenues by $134,614 and our expenditures by amount of $295,255. And reflecting the change in our ending fund balance is $160,641.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the budget amendment. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for your work on this.
You're welcome. If you would sign a couple of those for me, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Bruce.
See you, Bruce.
Thank you.
No other business. We'll recess until the engineer arrives. We'll come out of recess and visit with the engineer.
How was that?
Morning.
How much rain you get Lake City last night?
I need to get my rain gauge out. I haven't gotten that yet. Mine got knocked over, and I don't know. I know that storm that went through my dad's farm, Northeast Arcadia, around that area, it was over 3 inches some places.
That's what we
So
heard.
That's what we heard, yeah.
So I
That's
think-
right, I forgot about Arcadia. Yeah, Maple River got 2.5, 3.5 of that.
yep, I heard that too. So and I noticed when I was coming in town last night, I was out most of the weekend, and there were some pretty shimmery lakes as I was coming back in. It looked like on the sides of the road. So
Yeah, there are north of Carroll. You know, Mark.
county crews repairing stressed areas of Voss and gravel roads connecting to Voss to the 196 project. A lot of traffic still on those. Gravel and roads in Sac Township. Several tile repairs in Coon Valley Township. Obviously not blading today, but
Is it raining when you came in?
yeah, it's sprinkling again pretty good. So
Yeah, they went out blading this morning a little bit.
yep.
You know, when I came in, that changed dramatically from 7 to 6.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like the whole week's just kind of chances of rain all week. It seems like so. Replacing road culvert in Viola, continuing to seed culvert and ditch repair areas, and scheduling riprap placement against that bridge abutment in section 33 of Cook Township. So.
Oh, one kind of trouble spot that I've been traveling recently is right north of New Highway 20 and 230th Street, just right north of New 20. The road had a ton of
Potholes.
divot type stuff.
Okay.
That's one I've noticed recently.
All right. I'll check with Mike on that. See if that's one he's seen.
And maybe they've been there, but it was getting pretty nasty.
I'll have him check on that one.
Okay.
From a project status standpoint, we did have our bid letting for the patching project, this year's patching project on last Thursday. Had 3 bidders.
Well, 3 of them were tight.
The first one was our estimate, so, and then the next 2 were pretty tight. And then Demco came in a little bit high, and they generally do. It seems like Cedar Falls and 10 Point are the 2 that seem to be battling this one out, but they were very close, within about $400 of one another.
Wow.
So I guess when you're the low bidder, that's what you like to see. When you're the second low bidder, that's not what you like to see.
You need a motion to approve this.
Would like so, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid from 10 Point Construction on the patching projects in the county for dollar amount of $193,968.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to approve low bid for the patching projects to 10 Point Construction. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Alright,
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep.
are they gonna work on that this fall?
They normally come in the early fall, but they did mention to Chris that they may have some time in the July time frame to try to do it this year if it works out. A lot of it kind of is based on their schedule and what they have for other work, but go ahead.
Well, the reason I asked, as a lake project get together, and some property owners on the east side of the lake, they want to pave a city alley or street at their own expense.
Okay.
And I told that individual that different names were mentioned. If 10 Point's doing this, they might be, competitive on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll pass that information along to Scott Peterson. The city's not paying for it. It's
Private. Okay. Yep. Yeah, it kind of depends on how the rest of their schedule, and I guess rain probably factors into that too, and where they're at. I know generally, just from working with 10 Point in the past, prior to even being with the county, they do a lot of their out-of-state and far-away work in the summertime or earlier in the year, and then try to get closer to home towards the end of the year. That way, if weather starts getting nasty and whatever else, they're not quite so far away from home. But from what he said, it sounded like in July they may have some time to work on this, but kind of pencil it in and see how it goes.
Okay.
Next thing is we have the final pay voucher for the bridge deck overlay. This is last year's project. Just to get everything final out. The DOT came and did their audit about 2 weeks ago. Everything seems to be in order. We're waiting on one piece of paperwork from the contractor, but once we get that, we'll send in the rest of all of our documents, including this final pay voucher, and should be good to go with this project as far as closing it out. So,
Good. What's left to pay?
there is some liquidated damages because normally there would be retainage left, but the liquidated damages and the retainage are going to be basically a wash on that. So this would be the last payment, and I'm double check here. And I apologize for not being on top of this one. I didn't have a chance to talk to Ron this morning very long. The way I believe it is that this has been, all this is doing is showing the liquidated damages, and there is no, all the payment has been made on this one. So basically, it's just finalizing it out. I think they did a voucher that paid them everything except then once they agreed to the liquidated damages. That's what the DOT wanted to show, was showing us what the final liquidated damages were, which is 9.5 days. So I would like board approval of that if you're so inclined.
I'll make a motion to approve the final pay voucher for the reconstruction bridge widening project.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and seconded to make the final pay voucher. Have the chairman sign the final pay voucher. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Date it today.
Today's date is fine.
Okay.
As far as an update on Highway 196, I wasn't able to attend last week Wednesday's meeting, but we'll be there this Wednesday. I assume this rain is probably slowing them down.
Has to.
As far as trying to haul material, that just doesn't work very well at all. And if you keep getting these hit every 2 or 3 days, but I do believe they did get D42 taken care of last Friday, Saturday. They were working on that, getting the pavement removed and got the granular back in. Got that opened back up again. 270 and 290th were opened up at that point in time, and I believe they're still open. The gravel road connections, I haven't heard from them that they're going to close those back again. They've been trying to stay on top of that pretty close as far as what they're doing with those. I'm not sure what the rain's doing today, but 320th Street, they are wanting to close that. They're going to start hauling material across that intersection. So CJ Moynier is planning to close that one here today, so they can start doing that. But that may held off with the rain. I'm not sure if they closed it this morning or not, but that'll be when it dries up. That's where they'll be working. So, but otherwise, I don't have a whole lot of update on that. Kind of a short report this week.
You mentioned last week, Galwood and Shaler, the detour to, Ron had talked about, future plans for overlaying roads and projects and that road from the Shaler Cemetery west. He mentioned that as a possible candidate in light of what, we'll just kind of put that on hold and see what they're going to do to our road.
They're going to go out and evaluate the road and see what its condition is right now. In the next couple of weeks, there'll be people out there. They do a falling weight petrometer to be able to find out kind of what kind of structural integrity it has. We've sent them plans on what the original design was and what all the resurfacing that's been done to it, so they have a kind of a history of what that section of roadway has done. And same thing with our bridges. Gave them that information to them as well, because they do analysis and all the structures along that route. At our meeting last week, what has been proposed or what may happen is we may hold off on that resurfacing project. The state may come in and may do an overlay. We'll gotta see what kind of structural values they have there and what they come up with. But my anticipation is that they'll want to do something to that road before it becomes a detour to get it back into shape. So
how do you?
Do we negotiate? Do we have any negotiation power?
Well, what they're, nothing's in writing. This is just conversation. But what the conversation was is that, they would fix the road up for their use. they'd pay for 100% of that dollar value. How much their trucks and the detour would beat that down over the next however many years, over the next year and a half, is kind of hard to determine. But I guess bottom line is what they seem to be offering an overlay at their expense. Basically, what we could do is postpone ours. Hopefully, instead of needing it in 2017 when we had it scheduled, maybe instead of being a 10 years or 12 years life of expectancy, that overlay, maybe that's shortened a little bit. Maybe it's 5 or 6 years, but they're paying for they're seems to be offering to pay for that stretch. Again, we don't have an agreement or anything like that, but that's the conversations that we've been having. So essentially we'd be,
Can we negotiate, instead of a 4-inch, concrete lip, like, make it even, thicker. It's gonna handle.
They were probably just thinking asphalt overlay.
I think that's what they were looking at, is asphalt. Very preliminary conversations. Really haven't gotten into it real far yet. It'd probably be something they'd be looking to probably do, I would assume next year is when they would do that work.
We have to approve that. Can they just say, well, you don't have it?
I think we have some say, but I think we want to be very careful on if they're going to give us something for free.
Yeah.
Essentially, how far we go with it, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, again, very preliminary conversations. They really haven't gone down that road. This is the first time I've been able to attend that Highway 20 meeting. I think they're going to have those monthly.
Just the city of Shaler.
Very opposed. They're looking very hard at the alternate route that we discussed last week. We need to do some more research into that because there's
some Well, yeah, I think we need to stay on top of it, because like Rick, when we negotiated with Highway 20 transfer, he brought up some issues, inflation factors and things, and, we try to be proactive and take big dividends
Right.
for the county.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think, we want to, sure we want to cooperate, but, we don't have to bend over.
That's right. We need to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's and understanding
Yeah.
what they're offering, what
Yeah.
kind of benefits they are, and,
Yeah.
and what we can go from there. But again, the biggest thing about the whole thing, I guess, is I know one gentleman with the DOT brought up, well, this if we end up doing this alternate route, this could get quite expensive. Do we need to be looking at doing a different detouring down to 175? And that's the worst thing that I guess, in my opinion, that we'd like to see, because local traffic's not going to go all the way down to 175. They're going to find another route. They're going to use our county road.
That's exactly right, and we're seeing that already. There's for a number of reasons. We're getting a bunch of north-south traffic on county roads that
Right.
We should be avoiding, but have no power to do so.
That's right.
And so we really have to be thoughtful and careful about.
Right. I mean, so far every conversation I have has been very, very good. They've been very reasonable with everything. I agree that we need to make sure we're kind of watching what they're. I mean, the DOT is out. They're out there to fix their road. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But we got to do it the right way. We got to play fair with everybody and.
It's. I guess in the big picture, Shaler needs to be considerate too of how that can negatively affect everybody. And
That's right.
And I think
Yeah.
they have a situation where if there isn't a level of cooperation, that traffic's still going to be there. And like you say, the locals are going to use it anyway. And
Right.
yeah, you might be able to avoid some of the off-road stuff, but that only eliminates a piece of it.
That's right. And the other part of this, to me, I guess it's not like it's a month detour. I mean,
Right,
this
that's
is
the other deal, yeah.
it's a long detour.
A couple of years.
That's right. So I mean, that all factors in. So from what I understand, they had a lot of the same comments that they had the last time they tried to go through Shaler. So I guess that's between the DOT and them as far as what they want to work out.
The downside is that can have that's certainly an effect on what happens in our space.
That's right. Well, and that's why this alternate detour may be a good compromise for a lot of people, because it's still be a route that's very close to Shaler. That I think a lot of the local traffic
Did you
would.
say they were going to have to hard service some road?
They would.
It'd be a mile.
It'd be 2 miles. 2 miles.
That's what I was thinking
Like
too.
the cemetery's right there, and
It'd be a mile north and a mile east.
see,
Then that hooks up with, what is
D
it, D15?
D15 tied right into D15.
Which
that's
I mean,
not hard service.
It's
from-
gravel. And it's actually.
They'd
It's
have to hard-
3 miles gravel.
Is it 3?
Like, and that from,
Well, I think I got a different map. Let me see if I have that one
Right.
along with me.
you know, this is paved down through Shaler. Where the heck's- Oh,
No,
no, you're
that
right,
one's hard to
just a
tell.
mile.
I believe
well,
it's
mile each direction though, mile north, mile east.
Yeah.
yeah, a mile east and a mile.
And you'd have to get eminent domain and make a curve. I mean, you wouldn't want to have, well, maybe, but, you know, up here where, you know, you're a mile north and a mile east, I'm going
They might just,
where,
Yeah.
yeah.
they won't curve it.
I don't think so. I think they'll
Well, anyway,
because that's the other part is for
if you
them.
grade a road, you know, it could be $1 million a mile.
It is $1 million. The last time that we had a
To grade it,
conversation.
and, you know, one,
And that's what hasn't been. I guess I'll say hasn't been determined yet. Is what are they talking about when it comes to paving that road? Are they just putting concrete on it as it is? Are we doing grading? What are we all doing?
I don't think they could if they wanted to.
Well,
that one road, I think the
There's-
one that's east-west.
is a level
I
B.
think that's a-
Oh, is
I
that a
think
B?
so. I think so. I think it's. I think it's a better level B, but I think it is classified as a level
But
B.
there's certainly a standard that they would have to adhere to. They couldn't.
There is, but they also will try to make it fit within the right of way that's there. Would be my guess, because they don't have enough
right.
time to do any kind of right of way acquisition or anything like that. So that's what we have to do. I want to go out and look at it with Mike, drive it, and take a look, and then we'll be in communication with the DOT again as far as as this progresses, because they haven't said they're going to do it. What they're looking into now is they're getting one step closer. They're actually putting some cost estimates together on what it's going to cost them to do that alternate, and see if that's
just off the top of the head guess is $2.5 million using existing.
right. I don't think you're too real far off there. It's not a cheap endeavor, but
Wow.
Well, I guess in the safety issue, you run that much traffic through Shaler, little kids on bikes, and,
I believe they wanted to. I mean, the DOT wanted to pull the four-way stop, wanted to pull that out, and I know Shaler had an issue with that. I mean, there's multiple things that they were concerned about, and rightfully so.
Right.
I completely agree, but I guess you kind of have to weigh in the balance what the pros and cons are of each option, and go from
Well,
there.
from a just strictly a financial consideration, that's very clear what would cost us. And even if they had to do a major remodel of just the town,
That'd be less.
much harm.
Yeah.
Pro Co-op starting to do dust control in Calumet and Sac County.
They had called and they were gonna start doing this week, but with the weather, we're gonna try to push them back until we get things back into shape again. But
Yeah,
we'll
they did
s-
some prep work, I think, last week. Getting ready for it.
get ready for it. Yeah, I know their goal was trying to get it in there this week, but with the weather the way it is, I know BJ was gonna try to call them and find out what their plans were, because
Yeah.
putting it down when it's raining isn't really a good option.
You know that, that bridge project we're gonna start north of Lakeview.
Mhm.
I talked to Graham Hope. Has lived, that's his neighborhood, and he said, in his lifetime, the water's never topped the road. With existing
The existing-
capacity underneath
okay.
that bridge. We're talking after church one day, and I told him that project's moving forward a little bit, and there's some right-of-way accident. But he said, he's 80 years old, but,
That's good to know.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, is making sure we're not backing any water up,
Right.
to the west. I mean, that's the biggest key there,
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't own land on the west side of the road. That, it's,
But that's good information.
yeah.
It is, yeah.
I was looking at it the other day. And so, I guess that's,
Thank you, Zach.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it at this point.
Okay. Thank
You guys don't have a board meeting next week in Calhoun County?
No, they didn't have one last week,
Oh, really?
and they don't have one next week. Last week, I'm not exactly sure the reason was, but I know next week they're having their special election and didn't want too much stuff going on all at once, so.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I forget,
Yeah, I just got a quick, have we ever gotten those lights up on Highway 20 at?
And 28 and
Yep.
54
Are
both
they
are
up?
up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Are
and
they-
active. The only thing that we have not been able to do is M50, which,
South of Nemaha, that one.
and then maybe you aren't even aware of that. We put those two up, but we would still like to have done it on M50. We wanted to do all three. There's not electrical access, so Ron was investigating a solar possibility for M50.
He mentioned that a little bit.
Okay.
From what I understand, he didn't come up with anything that was real solid answer on that. The solar lights that I think he found were ones that were they were more sporadic on when they were on. There were set times, and it wasn't like it was on all night, and it was hard to I don't know if it was I'd have to go back and look and see if he's got some notes on it, but I was thinking the size of the light, maybe it didn't have as much wattage, and it was also more intermittent on when it was on because of that, based off the solar. I don't think he found a really good option as a destination light.
I think, and that was, not necessarily the need to enlighten the whole intersection, but just for a destination to actually know where you are and identify it from a distance. We went through the other two and were able to line up electrical
Right.
possibilities, but that one wasn't gonna. There was nothing close, and but we would still like to do something there. And
I'll keep doing some digging on that and see what I can find.
Okay.
The biggest thing with a solar is if it's on from let's say dusk for 3 hours or 4 hours, it may not be on.
Even to midnight, if you could go from 8 to 12 or something, and
Right.
But before we did this in advance, we had a lot of folks, including myself, drive by, and so it's just really a kind of a important thing to, because I found myself slamming on the brakes, trying to get over, and we had that contact, and so that's why we proceeded with that. But we would still like to do something at the M50 intersection.
I'll do some more digging into seeing what Ron had, or even give him a call if we need to, and try to
Okay.
see if there's any other options too that we haven't looked at as far as.
Okay.
I would have to think that there's, with the new technology and everything else, that there's something that's coming out that would be applicable to this situation.
I do too. Thank you, Zach.
Yep, thank you.
Any other business?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that motion. Motion's been made and second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.